It's hot here. It's barely dawn, but it's already hotter than shit.
Oh! What the hell are these? What's with this place?
And they say there are people who actually live here.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Anime Night, where we take a series and go episode by episode, give our thoughts, spoil the hell out of it, and give some analysis maybe in the process. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And once again, we are delving into Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team. And today we're going to be tackling Episode 2, Gundams in the Jungle. So once again, going with the synopsis provided by the Gundam Wiki, Shiro, Mikkel, I'm guessing this is Drama Queen, but I think the only name that they refer to him as Ninorik, which is probably his last name. Sanders, Karen, and Elidor ride in a jeep to the base. As they arrive, they watch the Gundams of the 6th MS team moving out for combat. Shiro reports in to the base commander, Kojima, and I love the fact the guy's name is Kojima. Kojima tells Shiro and the rest of the team that the Zeon have built a factory somewhere in the area. And this is basically kind of setting up for what an everyday kind of situation is going to be for our new commander, Ensign Shiro Amada. So going through this, we start things off with having Shiro and, I guess, Mikkel. I'm still going to call him, we'll go with Ninorik, just in case people get pissed with me calling him Drama Queen. So they get introduced to, not only Shiro gets formally introduced to Terry Sanders, but we also get introduced to Karen Joshua, who is acting commander of the 8th MS team, and also their third mobile suit pilot. So where they're going to have 3 mobile suits, she is one of the pilots, she is the veteran, and apparently this unit has a notorious reputation for not being able to keep commanding officers. Well, that's such good news for Ensign Amada, isn't it? We also get to have the first concept of the fact that Ensign Amada, as well as Ninorik, have never been to the Earth before, so they're getting used to not just how Earth gravity feels and everything like that, but you're throwing them into the jungles of Southeast Asia. And so it's hot and humid as hell, and all you're doing is just trying to survive. And Amada checks in with Kojima, who informs them of the situation and that, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to take care of Zeon operations in Southeast Asia, and also trying to stop them from having factories and everything like that. But we get basically an introduction of Shiro as the commanding officer and trying to get along with Karen Joshua, who is giving him a bit of a hard time. And I think that's probably because of the fact that he's, to her at least, he is such a greenhorn, as well as the fact that he's an ensign. And she's been down there for a while, because she is, what is her rank? I can't even remember. I don't think it actually gets, maybe it gets mentioned a little bit. Maybe she's a sergeant, much like Sanders, but I believe she's higher rank than him because she's the second in command of the 8th MS team. We also get to meet Elidor, who I'm trying to remember his rank. Corporal Elidor Massey, who is he technically pilots a tank, but it's also their sonar support, or their eyes and ears when they're in radio silence. So he kind of doubles up as that, because Ninorik basically gets handed to him as the gunner for his tank, while he's the driver as well as the recon officer. So at that point you get introduced to Elidor, and no sooner after that is when we finally get to have the 8th MS team embark on their first mission, which is basically night fighting at this point. We get to have Shiro Amada basically do the friendly captain speech of, like, I don't want anybody to die, let's play it safe out there, etc., etc. And then they're immediately out to combat. And this is when we also find out that Shiro Amada will be piloting Unit 1 of the 8th MS team. Unit 2, I believe, is Terry Sanders' mobile suit. And then Unit 3 is Karen Joshua's. So we immediately get thrust into the heat of the action because they immediately observe radio silence once they're out of the base and immediately get into a fight with a couple of Zaku's. And the combat here actually is pretty damn good. It's something that I've come to expect with a lot of the 0080, 0083 OVAs. And so it's very cool to be able to see these pilots in action and also being able to have like actual war kind of environments to be able to see the Gundams and the Zaku's fight in, because all of these are supposed to be like streamlined Gundam units. So at that point, during the combat, Amada loses track of his team. He goes off to try and be, or at least the team thinks he's trying to be a decoy, but he's just trying to make sure that the Zaku's are eliminated. And he loses track of where his team is and is basically stuck there for the night in the jungle in his mobile suit and trying to survive on his own. And ultimately, because of the fact that he ran off all gung-ho, Karen Joshua isn't necessarily jumping head over heels to try and rescue him. Now, Terry Sanders is, because of the fact that Shiro Amada rescued him in the previous episode. But Karen doesn't really feel all that compelled to go out and rescue him. Let's put it that way. So they head back to base, and Shiro spends the night in the jungle, eventually waking up to, I would like to say, the hazards of Earth life, where he basically decides that he has to go and try and do something to either get a radio signal or something to be able to find where he needs to go to get back to base. Decides to get out of the mobile suit, and immediately he goes exploring for a little bit, ends up in a swamp, and then gets bitten by a bunch of leeches. And it's basically a nightmare for anybody who's lived in the colonies, because they just don't know about these little things on Earth. And I like that little detail that they kept adherence to. He eventually finds his way to a river, where he's able to relax a little bit and get his bearings. We also, I forgot to mention this in the first episode, another major factor is that, Aina gives Shiro her watch. So he has a Xeon watch that he's got around his neck that occasionally is like beeping here and there. And we eventually find out, because we go back to Aina in Xeon, that her brother, who his name escapes me right now, Major General Ginius Sahalin, apparently has a medical condition, and I believe the watch was, according to Aina, was actually supposed to time when he was supposed to take his medicine. So at that point, it's just going to be an annoying thing for Shiro, but kind of a lovable thing. And while we come back to Shiro, and Shiro has a nice young visitor, a young girl, and holy boobs. Yeah, this is definitely an OVA, because they have no problem with the nudity or anything like that. A female civilian in the area decides to take a bath near Shiro, and he's quite enjoying the view, and then the watch goes off, which I thought that was perfect. The watch goes off, she notices he's there, and immediately starts shooting at him. While naked, might I add, because, of course, why would you not do that? And long story short, they are all waiting. The rest of the 8th MS team is waiting for him back in base. They haven't heard anything until I think the next day, when he finally brings his mobile suit back into base. And that's when Karen Joshua earns a little bit of respect for the guy, as well as the other members of the 8th MS team that didn't know him as the hero that they did. So that's pretty much that's pretty much the description of what happens in episode 2. Now we get to go over my notes for it, and I'll give my thoughts as we go along. The first thing being, it's weird to see the Gundam design so standardized at this point, and to me that is a big deal, because even in the Universal Century, yes, I get it, the GMs are supposed to be that. Seeing a standard issue model, even when I was watching Zeta, was a difficult thing to look at, because it's just like the Gundams are supposed to be so individualistic from the series. To see a mass-produced model is a very weird thing, for me at least. I don't know if that's a weird thing for other people, but it definitely was weird being able to see it isn't just Amada who's piloting the Gundam, but Sanders also has one, and and Karen Joshua has one, along with the other mobile suits that we've seen from the other teams. So Shiro's a hothead, and the one they're worried about is Sanders, the team killer. This is actually something we learn about Sanders as we go along. He apparently has the moniker of Grim Reaper. We don't know too much. The most we get is from a report that Karen Joshua read on behalf of him when he joined the unit. And apparently he's got some bad luck when it comes to his teammates dying when he's with them on missions. And so he's got a little bit of a bad name and a bit of a jinx, according to traditions with these mobile suit teams. And it even gets mentioned in the first episode that when he gets reassigned to the 8th MS team, that his old unit was finally able to get rid of the jinx. Which is kind of a sad thing, but I like the fact that there's character development there, because now we can see why he is so endearingly loyal to Amada. Because if you consider this, like, previous unit members probably haven't had the best outlook for him. And so now he has somebody who tried to save him and honestly cares about him doing a good job. So interesting how the crew is already betting that Shiro won't last a week. Yeah, this is going in tandem with the all of the jinxing or, scuttlebutt that the 8th MS team apparently can't keep a commanding officer to save their life. And so it's very interesting to see characters like Elidor and Karen Joshua mentioning, like, yeah, we don't think he's going to last a week. And then ultimately the end of the episode is like he earns their respect. So I actually did like that. Interesting how the crew is already betting. I already read that one. Nice speech from Shiro, but obviously he hasn't won the team over yet. The dynamic already looks very interesting. And I actually, once again, agree with this statement. Like, he does that stereotypical commander speech, but obviously you've got some characters like Karen and Elidor who are, used to the surroundings and used to the environment that they have. And so they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then you have the dynamic that Sanders brings, where he's very loyal to Amada, even though he knows very little about him. And then you have drama queen Nidorik, who is constantly trying to write compelling letters for his girlfriend, I guess. Let's see. I like the fact that Karen is a pilot as well as seems like a mechanic. Perfectly appropriate given the circumstances. This is something that I definitely like, because even in episode 1, we saw Karen and she was maintaining a mobile suit, but we didn't really get much else other than that. I mean, we got to see Elidor in the first episode, who was, I guess, on a day off because he had a Walkman in his ears, which I'm surprised he was allowed to have that on base, considering giant mobile suits walking around. But I did like the fact that she had to maintain her mobile suit as well as being able to pilot it, because it does make sense considering how strapped for manpower that they probably are in this jungle. It definitely makes sense that she'd have to maintain not just her mobile suit, but probably any others that get damaged in the fights. Shiro getting schooled by Karen is entirely appropriate, considering he recently just told everybody else to observe radio silence and kill the lights. This is when they first enter radio silence, and she tries to make sure to remind Shiro that he's got to tell people to observe radio silence. And then immediately he tries to go off half-cocked, and Karen is once again reminding him of radio silence. You have to observe radio silence or you will die out here. So I did think it was appropriate, and once again, adheres to the dynamic that we currently have right now. Karen doesn't necessarily trust Shiro, and Shiro's trying to earn that trust, but he's also very gung-ho. So I did like that. Looks like Sanders can handle himself fairly well. This is actually in reference to the Zaku he is able to kill, and that was actually a cool moment. He gets to kill a Zaku, and he's like, well, so this is the power of a Gundam. Shiro seems very green on the battlefield. Yeah, the first encounter, because of a lot of the decisions that Shiro was making, he didn't seem as cool as he did in the first episode, where he took a freaking ball and killed a Zaku with it. But I guess, he's still kind of stage frighted from being commander and all that. Why are we worried about Shiro being the laughingstock of the base? He's the freaking commander. This is when he runs off and they can't reestablish radio contact with him. And so Nidorik suggests that they go look for him, and Elidor basically says, no, we can't go because he'll be the laughingstock of the base. I don't get why that's a thing, because yes, he would be the laughingstock of the base, but he'd be alive, wouldn't he? So at that point, can we really be upset about that? Or like, sure, be the laughingstock, but at least you're breathing, right? Why did Shiro abandon his mobile suit? But on the upper hand, it was fun seeing him deal with Earthside problems like leeches. Yeah, I didn't get why he abandoned his mobile suit right off the bat, maybe just because of the weather, but I did like the fact that, you know, first thing he does, he gets stuck in a swamp, and so he's like, lovely, and then he looks at his arm, and he's got 3 leeches on him. So it's just, it was a perfect, compelling moment to be able to see Shiro, who is colony-born, obviously, dealing with Earthbound problems. So... And this is actually the point where we got holy boobs, Batman, because, yeah, the civilian came out and full nudity right there. Hey, look, it's an OVA. Never would have guessed. And Shiro's busted by that Xeon watch from Ina, and I love that moment. Like, oh, this is really, really nice. Beep, 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 beep. I loved it. It was so great that he got caught by that. So Sanders is called the Reaper, but I still don't get the team killer part of that. And it's not really explained that much. We go into his report a little bit, or at least Karen does, but I don't see that as necessarily a bad luck thing, because it doesn't sound like he had that many missions under his belt. So at that point, you can't really say he's bad luck right off the bat. But if you're on a battlefield, superstition is going to be superstition. You can't really stop that. Shiro versus the one-armed Zaku was a cool moment. Yeah, a lot of the mobile suit combat so far has been amazing. I love the fight with Sanders, being able to kill Zaku, and then also this moment with Shiro was freaking amazing. And yeah, overall, great episode, great introduction of the 8th MS team, especially in doing what they're supposed to be doing for the remainder of this series. And so I have no problem giving this a final 4 out of 5 score. Very compelling, gave me reasons to care about a majority of the unit. The only one I really don't care about yet is Drama Queen Ninori, but that's just because they haven't really had him do much yet. He's just been driving a tank, whereas Elidor's actually been listening in, and Karen and Sanders and Shiro have been active on the battlefield. I would actually even say there's more compelling character moments with Ina, and all she did was basically get an update from her brother on the situation there. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. In the meantime, though, if you're brand spanking new on YouTube, let me know what you guys thought of episode 2 in the comments down below, and let's have that discussion. Also, if you wouldn't mind giving a like and a like to the video, as well as consider subscribing to the channel, it definitely helps out, and it will keep you notified for when the next episode of the 8th MS team comes out and my analysis for it. If you're listening via podcast platforms, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Player.fm, as well as Spotify. And I will catch you guys next time for episode 3 of Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team. Until then, take care.